Chancellor Rachel Reeves' huge tax raid on inherited pensions may rake in far more than the Labour government initially estimated, a pensions consultancy firm believes. After the controversial October budget, grieving families are facing a 40% tax on inherited pensions from April 2027. The government has estimated that the changes will raise £640 million in the first year, £1.34 billion in 2028-29, and £1.46 billion in 2029-30. But pensions consultancy LCP believes, by the 2030s, this change will see well over £3 billion raked in each year. Over the next 20 years, this could see as much as £40 billion raised. This is because pension transfers activity has increased since the 2010s, but then rapidly dropped after 2018 when tougher restrictions were imposed. Typically, only about 50% of a defined benefit scheme can be passed down to a spouse. As a result, a number of savers transferred their pensions to ensure their loved ones would inherit their funds. But unspent funds could be vulnerable to Labour's inheritance tax rules. Tim Camfield, senior consultant at LCP, said, applying inheritance tax to pension balances could prove to be a real goldmine for the government for many years to come. The surge in defined benefit pension transfer activity which we witnessed in the late 2010s will dramatically increase the number of people whose estate includes a significant defined contribution pension balance. Some may react to the tax changes by drawing down on their pension assets faster, but that will still generate significant tax revenue, as such withdrawals will be subject to income tax. Either way, as the defined benefit transfer generation gets older, the government will start to see a multi-billion-pound revenue stream from the income tax or inheritance tax on their pension pots. In recent years, governments have raked in more and more via inheritance tax receipts. In the period between April and December 2024, inheritance tax receipts brought in £6.3 billion for the government, up by £600 million when compared to the same period of 2023. An Treasury spokesman said, "We do not recognize these figures. Government costings are based on actual inheritance tax data and are certified by the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility who forecast over a 5-year period. We continue to incentivize pensions savings for their intended purpose of funding retirement instead of them being openly used as a vehicle to transfer wealth, and most estates will continue to pay no inheritance tax after these changes." Here is a summary of Internet users' reactions. Labour are making it pointless to save or provide for yourself in old age. There will soon be more on benefits than working and saving if they carry on like this. Those who don't have a private pension and don't own their own property, inherited or otherwise, will need housing benefit on top of other benefits until the day they die. I will spend away my pension, which I will still begrudgingly pay taxes on, rather than give it to the shirkers via this government. And if I run out, I'll be claiming too. This policy is a loser for the country in the longer term. Yet another example of this shower taxing aspiration. This government cannot stoop any lower than robbing the dead. This raid on pension pots, which savers accumulated with their own post-tax money, is government theft, pure and simple. Disgusting. Another tax loophole that only benefited the rich closed. Not much point saving to look out for yourself in your latter years. Spend it while you're young and rely on the taxpayer to look after you. That's what others do. And that is what this government theft is encouraging, not standing on your own feet. They need funding to support illegal immigrants that live for free and have contributed nothing to this country, anyone but our people. In all likelihood it will probably cease to exist given the fast-changing demographics. You have vast swathe of non-elected mobs trying to influence TGE political. The red-green flag wavers want control, and unless we wake up it will happen. Something approaching the Lebanon in the 1970s, and look what happened there. This is nothing but theft pure and simple and will not stop until they have wasted every penny in the country and left everyone destitute and depending on state handouts. Send your money overseas, go on holiday overseas, move overseas even, because they are coming for your money on every front while the UK slowly descends into bankruptcy. Brought on by overspending of your money by people, yes you Chancellor, who feel it's fine to throw away money on ideological pet projects that have no viable business case. E.g. killing off the cash cow of British oil and gas and replacing it with Chinese solar panels. Totally agree. It's started already. Many major oil companies up here are in the process of moving away. Thousands will be out of work in the next 2 years, rigs towed to more favorable tax climates. Then we can start buying our oil and from other countries / and at the price they dictate. Glad I'm in my 60s. Instead of investing in a pension, put money into items that appreciate and can be sold without paying any tax, then spend the money as you want. With a pension, it gets income tax relief at up to 45%, and then the invested money grows free of tax. It's then possible to take out a tax-free lump sum of 25% of the total fund on retirement, with the rest taxable at the marginal rate of income tax. It's outrageous that governments have been encouraging us to invest in private pensions for our retirement, and that when we pass, the remainder is not subjected to IHT. To now change of the sterling, are you a government propagandist? People who invest in their pensions are looking at being somewhat independent on retirement, instead of being a burden on the state. Answer equals no. My earlier comment applies regardless of which political party is in government. People who invest in pensions get far more benefit by investing untaxed money into a personal or occupational pension than investing taxed money into savings. This leave a lot are saying don't bother buying a pension because they want your money. This robbery will not prove a goldmine for this awful government for years to come. The simple reason is that they won't have years to come. After they are badly beaten in the next general election, they won't get into power again for at least a generation, hopefully longer. They've got a voter recruitment center doing very well near Dover. And their taxpayer-paid pensions should be drastically reviewed. They tax what you earn, they tax what you spend, they tax what you save, they tax you beyond the grave. I wonder what they can or will tax next. Breathing, you will be taxed per breath, in and out. Meanwhile, hypothermic pensioners are funding Reeves' heating bill. Labour are making it pointless to save or provide for yourself in old age. There will soon be more on benefits than working and saving if they carry on like this. Those who don't have a private pension and don't own their own property, inherited or otherwise, will need housing benefit on top of other benefits until the day they die. I will spend away my pension, which I will still begrudgingly pay taxes on, rather than give it to the shirkers via this government. And if I run out, I'll be claiming too. This policy is a loser for the country in the longer term. A large chunk of all taxes raised will go to unions and public sector workers, and also on government politicians' vast expenses. The problem is not just that but royals, sirs and lords, peers, the hangers-on and corruption. Loads in costs for cold old buildings and old-fashioned ITETSP. Labour's new mantra should be there are two certainties in life, and we'll make sure we'll tax you more. Ange likes mints for her breath. We can guess why. Let's just say a certain man doesn't like smoking. Looks like the Labour Party are not just happy taking more money from the pensioners whilst they are alive, they want even more when they pass away. £40 billion over the next 20 years. Why not say £80 billion over 40 years? All a +6 on words. It will not go to Rachel from accounts as she and Labour will not be in power. If the Tories or Reform want to get into government, they will just repeal this, gain votes. Self-advancement and independence aspiration being killed by this government. Might as well spend your savings rather than leave it to be wasted on crazy schemes and ideas. It does appear that government punishes those who work and save, businesses both big and small, and pensioners whilst reducing public services. Quite bizarre. Most estates will continue to pay no inheritance tax after these changes. That's because we're taxed so heavily when we're alive it's almost impossible to accumulate enough savings to pay IHT. At the moment you do. I seriously doubt that anything is off limits as far as Labour are concerned. My mum and dad had nothing to leave me when they died. Everything I have I've worked for and have been heavily taxed in the process. Hence I am so reluctant to give them any more than I need to. Pensions are supposed to be drawn in your own lifetime. With the obvious exception of a spouse or children under 18 and perhaps a bit older if in full-time education. When did it become acceptable to transfer intergeneration wealth tax-free in a pension pot when it is really savings? It's daylight robbery all over again. When will we wake up to the dangers of communism?